How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. I'm joined here by the punk rock nerd band Bathroom of the Future for another Knowing That band. How are y'all guys doing tonight?
Well, what about you?
Doing pretty well again. I want to thank you guys for being interested in this, and also hope that you guys had a successful show at Dragon Con this year.
We did. Thank you. I should apologize. Dragon Con is why it took me 2 months to reply to your
Oh
message.
no, I totally get it. Dragon
How great
Con,
at Instagram is the problem.
it's probably one of the biggest cons here in the good old US of A. So I get, I know people who have to prepare months in advance for that con.
Right. I just didn't want you to think we were trying to big league
Oh
anybody,
no,
right?
I
got that brain that forgets to reply to stuff if it's been more than an hour.
I know
Oh,
you're
God,
fine.
same.
So I'm joined here by Brendan, James, Sean, and Tim. So I guess to begin, either of you guys can answer it. I'll start with Tim since who started the idea for this band?
So it was kind of both Sean and I. So I've been friends with all these guys forever, but I've known Sean for like darn near 20 years at this point. We started hanging out in like 2004, and I'd always been in a lot of bands from the area. He'd been in a lot of bands from the area, and we always kind of kicked around the idea of maybe doing something together one day. And then it just kind of finally happened that one of my bands started winding down. He got a bass finally because he actually learned to play bass to be in this band. And then it kind of went from there. So I think everything just sort of blossomed from like us both finally being available to get something going.
Nice. So what made you come up with the name Bathroom of the Future? Because it kind of sounds close to like Back to the Future in a way.
Right, yeah.
The first one that asked, even my mom wanted to know.
And you know what the problem is too, is it's like it's a terrible band name and it's not really a good story either. So like the short version, and I know Sean is gonna have some feedback on this, but the short version of the story is that we had another band name in mind when Sean and I were trying to start the band that kind of sounded like Bathroom of the Future. I won't name names, but one of us got drunk. And when we were trying to remember the old band name, one of us said Bathroom of the Future instead. And, to spread the blame around, the other one of us thought that was funny enough to not use. And then we would find out way later that we may have stolen that from a later era Simpsons episode. Because
it's in the background somewhere.
Yeah, like around the time the band was starting was when FX was doing those Every Simpsons Ever marathons. And we all have our opinions about when like the Simpsons stops being funny, but FX is going to keep showing it anyway. So we're pretty sure we might have accidentally heard Homer say Bathroom of the Future, and then that just mutated away from what our band name was going to be. Whatever it was, I actually don't know for sure what it was at this point.
I guarantee I did not watch that episode during that time. However, I have seen it. Funny enough, we actually had like a million band names, and for some reason we had a fake production company. And at one point in time, I was going through a phase where I was spray painting anything I could with gold spray paint. I thought it was funny,
right?
As I do. And in my bathroom, I actually had a golden buffalo on the back of the tank of the toilet.
That's right.
Bathroom buffalo.
Yeah. Bathroom buffalo. That's right.
It was like Bathroom Buffalo Productions or something. And then, yes, drunkenly somebody said like, "Oh, it's the Bathroom of the Future."
The funny thing about that to me is the fact that, Sean, you're not the first person that I met that went through I have to spray paint it gold phase.
Oh yeah,
it's just a thing that all adults go through at one point in their life, right?
You can convince everybody that it's made of gold, or
I mean, it worked in an episode of Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yeah, it worked in Ed, Edd and Eddy. It worked in It's Always Sunny.
Sunny
you see
with
what we're
the chair
doing here for fun in Michigan?
I think Bam Margera was it the Slayer episode where they were trying to make like a pirate theme so that had treasure.
Oh god.
Yeah. These are all things.
I mean, you're not wrong. So I guess going down the way, Brendan, how did you come about being part of this band?
Well, I guess I came to know the band. I mean, I also run a house venue. And I've been running it since like 2011. So when the Bathroom of the Future Boys became a band and they started to play shows here in Port Huron, they were booking a lot of shows here at the Schwank Soundstead.
Yeah, like I think our second show was
Yeah.
there.
Our
Yeah.
second show ever was at
And our
Brendan's
second
house. but-
EP was recorded with Brendan
Right.
and Brandy.
hmm
Yeah, we got a recording studio on the other side of this wall, and then below me is the first floor of the house, and there's a performance space and zone for merch, and sometimes we record and whatnot. But yeah, I knew the band just through via the scene, and it booked a lot of great shows, and then about a year and a half ago, before November, before we played Cybertronic Spree in November last year, Tim asked me if I wanted to help out on a couple songs for that show, because there were keyboard parts written for a couple songs that they recently recorded, I believe, during the pandemic, and wanted me to help them out, be able to perform the keyboard. So I was like, all right, it's a low stress, easy, way to kind of, jump on the instrument and, join a show. And then ever
You
since
lied a
then,
lot.
just kind of kept on playing those two songs, and then added, maybe wrote keyboard for a third and a fourth song. And yeah.
He
and
says
good
low
times.
stress, but like key instruments just give me hives, so it's much
Yeah,
better that he's
nope.
doing it than me, right?
It's all monophonic. I don't have to worry about like like chords and stuff. I'm not like,
That's true.
Nice.
But there's no like dots or frets. I'm lost looking at that
Yeah.
thing. It's
There's
just you hitting the
dots.
same button over again.
You can't
You
hit
put
it. I
dots
don't
on
get
it.
it.
James, how did you become about being the band's bass player?
Drummer, but
Oh,
so-
drummer. Wait, and then wait,
Sorry,
Sean's
sorry.
Sean's the bass player then?
Sean
Yes.
Sean plays bass.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So James, how did you become the band's drummer?
So it's kind of similar to Sean's story. Tim and I have known each other for a long time, and like we've played shows together with our respective previous bands, around Southeast Michigan, over the years. And we made the joke for a long time that we were those two like couples that like we're both seeing someone, and like these two relationships ended at just the right time that ours kind of came together. So yeah, it's just Tim makes the joke that that I'm the only band member who was asked to join, and everyone else was just it was thrust upon them.
Yeah,
But,
I kept going to Sean's house to make him learn songs, and then we kept going to Brendan's house to make him learn songs. James, I had to sweet talk into it. James,
But
I had to be
like-
nice to.
But here's the thing: is like we had already known each other a while, and this is what 8 years ago now at this point, and like
Coming up, yeah.
Oh, you
I
guys have
had
known this for
been
a long
out of
time
the
then.
last band that I was in for about a year and a half, so I was itching. I was itching to do something.
You had
but,
the
like, in
band.
Port Huron-
You had the band itch.
Yeah, yeah, and in
Made
Port
you say
Huron,
duck with
it's
that.
there's the music scene has been so like up and down throughout the years in Port Huron that at the time that I was trying to get into something, it was all like it's just stuff that didn't fit. And then so
Yeah.
Tim reached out and he
It's
had some
feast or
stuff.
famine for sure.
Oh, 100%. So Tim reached out and he showed me some of the stuff he had, and I had ideas for drum stuff really quick, like right off the bat. It just made sense. So like yeah, I was very happy to join.
Nice. Sean, how did you become the band's bass player?
Well, I had the equipment, but I didn't use it for a long time because I didn't know how to play. Me and Tim saw Break Anchor, who are an amazing band with Jay Navarro from the Suicide Machines singing, playing in there. We went to a show. It sounds like we're alcoholics. We drank a bunch, and it
As you do.
like ridiculous
As you do.
amounts. And I was like, "Eh, we should start a band." And Tim's like, "Oh yeah." And then like he slept on my couch. And then the next morning, like while I was still sleeping, he like ran off, grabbed a sixer, a hot and ready pizza, and his little amp, and came over and like taught me Brain Stew from Green Day. And then like part of a Ramones song. The
Yeah.
next week we learned maybe Thank You or one of our own songs. That was it.
Yeah, I had some stuff kind of written early on, but I used to joke that the first Bath of the Future song was the Ramones song "The KKK Took My Baby Away" because I kept making Sean play it with me in his dining room when his roommate was trying to watch TV.
It was Brain Stew though.
Uh,
But
It was Brain Stew. It was Brain Stew. KKK
like
was probably second.
And
I
like part
love
of
the
Nerdist
Godzilla
Breakdown.
soundtrack.
Exactly. I try to tell everybody though, that's the best first song to play with a stringed instrument because you have like a noticeable gap between notes. You can reposition your hands. It's the best
Yep.
first song to play. You
Yep.
know, 45 minutes in, now you're playing a song you heard in the amazing Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie.
nice.
So if anybody watching this learns Brain Stew, let us know. You'll probably wind up in Bathroom of the Future too.
Mhm.
I guess now, Tim, how did you become the band's singer?
Just through sheer ego and hubris. I'd been trying to make myself learn how to sing in bands for a little while. I was a drummer briefly, didn't work out. I was a guitar player, still not working out. I think it was kind of just I just wanted to sing in a band because I would have felt weird having somebody else do it while I was still trying to like write songs and do stuff for it. So not that there's anything wrong with that approach, but strictly speaking, for me, I always felt like, listen, if I'm gonna do this and I want to be in a band that sounds like a band I want to be in, I should probably just commit to just carrying the load, right? Like this is my problem now.
Take ownership. Yeah.
Yeah,
Simplify
yeah.
it.
I mean, it seems to
cooks in
work
the
out for you
kitchen.
guys.
Sorry.
It seems to work out for you guys. And for what I've seen like I've only seen one, and I know people who are gonna probably just like, well, why don't you do your research more? It's like, from the one music video I saw, like from the intro, it looked like the intro was like a birthday party or something, and it gave me like
Yes.
a night. It get you're the kind of music you guys doing from the music video I saw definitely gives off that mid '90s vibe.
Thank you. No, I have to say that is partly intentional. There's not like one specific like 90s band we're really trying to go for, right? But like we're just as influenced by stuff like, you know, Superchunk or Sugar or Harvey Danger as we are like any modern punk band we're super into. So I think we all just, even if we're not like kind of trying to shoot for that specific sound, I think it's just something we sort of carry with us like aesthetically, right?
Oh,
Like
no,
a lot of
there's-
the music
there's-
we like was from then.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, from what I've seen and heard, you guys seem to enjoy it. And again, it gives off that 90s vibe, which you don't really see a whole lot of. Like from the bigger, well-known bands, you more see it from, you know, the not so well-known bands or the bands, you know, stuff like that. But
No, it's true. I think we're at an age where people are kind of starting to admit, like, even like the quote unquote uncool stuff from that. It's like people are at the age where they're like, no, man, you know what? Third Eye Blind was friggin' great. I don't mind this at all.
100%.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like I
Windows
think we're just kind of
95,
yeah.
Windows
Yeah.
98, and we're now
Right.
available on CD-ROM.
oh, man.
Quake 3. Yeah, no, I think we're all just kind of a side effect of that almost. So it
And-
speaks to
and-
how old we are, I think.
Right, and that kind of lends to the point that like a lot of the newer bands that we do listen to and maybe take influence from, they're kind of pulling from the same older influences that we are, or at least that same
And there's
time
there's nothing wrong with that because
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys can admit that nowadays it's not easy to come up with new stuff.
Oh, no, 100% not right. I would love to sit here and think like, yes, there's literally never been a band that's ever sounded like Bathroom of the Future. But then like every time we play a show, somebody comes up to us, we get like two completely new examples of like, hey, you guys were great. You remind me of X band that I loved when I was 14, right? And I'm always flattered, but it's exactly that. It's like,
Yeah. You know, like I said, it's always something where they remember when they were that age, which I think
Mhm.
lends to the like, we don't do a lot of covers. We don't pull expressly from one thing or the other. But I think there's like it's an air of nostalgia around everything we do. And sometimes it's uplifting and sometimes it's kind of sad. But like that's kind of like the whole nerd culture thing. I mean, how many Transformers do we have to buy and imagine like some pretend 80s or 90s land that never existed?
it's what I thought 1993 was like, and
We're
now
trying
I'm
to
still
give you
there.
the soundtrack.
Jeez.
Yes, exactly.
Only now
Right,
I don't
'cause
have
if
to
you
ask
lived
mom's
it-
permission.
Right, right.
And I have
This is my
credit and
20
debit
bucks.
cards and a Target card and goddamn 20 tabs open.
Oh man.
Those red card exclusives are very important.
Yeah, that's
I
what's gonna
mean,
make me feel like I'm
yesterday
12 again.
I was in an Ollie's and like I was blowing up the band message group because I'm like, hey, I'm at Ollie's, up to my bullshit. Here's pictures of a bunch of cheap toys.
That's
And I was taking out loans on them.
That's specifically when I knew that Brendan was going to work out great because bands, right? We've had an ongoing band group chat since God, like early 2015 when we
Oh,
started
man.
getting shows, right? And then we added Brendan to it, and then Brendan immediately came in hot with like, "Hey, I found
Got
this
a
toy."
beaming. Oh.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, I found this at Target if you guys are looking for one. And hey, here's this insane thing I found about a bunch of deleted scenes from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh
Right.
God.
And like, we already loved Brendan. We already knew it was going to be fine. But as soon as this happened, we were like, all right, no, we nailed it. This was exactly the fourth dude that needed to be in this band.
And the
Yeah,
fact that you
Tim,
guys are like a,
immediately. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and the fact that you guys are like a nerd punk rock band is even cooler, in my opinion.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's just something we've kind of had to be honest with
Is that a
ourselves.
Zoid?
about.
Wait, no, is that a Transformer?
It's a Transformer.
Okay, I saw,
One of those-
I saw an animal. I saw an animal and I thought, is that a Zoid?
Oh my God,
It's-
I wish.
It's one of the Michael Bay. Well, no, it's not Michael Bay. It's the Bumblebee.
Yeah, the
the
Bumblebee
ones-
movie.
Where so they kind of look like Zoids, a little bit less like the what do they call it?
Bionicles.
Oh,
Bionicles.
God.
Yeah, I was too
Oh.
old for those.
So, before I ask about like some of the shows, have you ever had any other band members prior that are no longer with you guys?
No, no, actually, it's somehow it has been the three of us, and then the three of us plus Brendan, so now the four of us, like the entire time. When we were kind of getting started, Sean and I and James always gets embarrassed when I tell this story. Sean and I had a list of people we were kind of hoping would drum for us. James was always the first choice, but then we kind of had some backups prepared because I don't know, it's my self-esteem talking in the back of my mind, like, James is a really good drummer. I'm sure some prog rock band is already going to snatch him up by the time I can get to his house to play my dinky songs about Cowboy Bebop. Let's not put our eggs in this basket just yet. And then it turned out James was free. So no, we've actually never had to have a membership
that's-
change.
That's
Yeah.
I wonder if that's common or rare though, because I know like,
Right. Yeah.
a good chunk of like smaller bands, even I mean just bands in general, always
Yeah.
known for switching out a band member because that doesn't work out, or they die, or just they want to move on to something else.
No, that's it. Exactly. We all still get along. We're all alive and well. That you don't see a lot of that in music, unfortunately.
No, and it's
In my
it's,
other band, I'm on my sixth drummer. So there
Oh
you
my
go.
God.
Oh
I
wow!
don't know 6 people, let alone 6 of them that play drums, Brandon.
Jeez.
I'm talking like 20 years.
Well,
you know,
still,
thing.
yeah.
But
Oh,
still,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a lot of drummers.
Oh, jeez.
What's
And
funny
I
about
think-
our drummer situation is who we went through, or other plans other than James. There were two people who didn't know how to drum.
Right. So it was going to be another Sean situation. We were going to teach them their instrument too.
Oh,
And
man.
one of them ended up having a kid, and the other one they ended up moving away. And then we didn't want to program a drum machine either. So
that just
So
that's
you
just
programmed me.
Right.
program a drum machine. What is this? Regular show?
I've always wanted to be in a band called The Power.
Oh man. Well, I mean, and plus, I feel like with an actual drummer, you get more of a feel and depth to it, and than you would a machine.
it
It's
would have
true.
been
I got-
awful.
I got
Yeah.
nothing against like bands with like, electronic instruments or electronic drummers or anything, but I think you're kind of right for specifically what we do. Seeing James just like flailing around back there doing what he does is kind of just part of the whole adventure, right? Like it would be a lot different if I was just wheeling out like a little table with an 808 on
If people just watching you just push this big heavy machine.
it. Yeah, no, you know what? Yeah, if we were wheeling out some old like church organ that just had like 2 built-in beats, then that's one thing. I feel like that's still
Oh,
pretty something that would
jeez.
get over.
I
That's an
think
okay
too, like
drummer.
one of the big things that like to lend to like the lack of member change out from the beginning, not any one of us was very egotistical, right? Like Tim has never been the kind of person you're like, no, you're gonna play your drums like this, you're gonna do this and that. Like we've all kind of been able to own our piece of
And
the
It's usually
band
how
image.
bands break up too, is when
Yeah.
like when one person is just bossing everyone around.
Yeah, no, so we all kind of have our we own our piece of what we do, and it's there at practice too. There's a lot of no, that sounded good. I like what you're doing. There's a lot of that. There's not a whole lot of stepping on ideas, like I feel like there's not a lot of opportunity for like argument or things like that. I mean, any of you, speak to that or speak against that, but like that's the way that I've always seen it.
He's only saying that because nobody's been there when I've gone into the studio when they've all left to re-record everybody's parts.
Ouch.
I shouldn't have said that out loud.
So, anyone can answer this. Do you remember what your very first show was and where it was?
So guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure our first two were pretty close together. There was a bar called the Roche.
Yep.
Back up in Port Huron where our first one happened. I feel terrible. Can't remember the lineup on it. I'm sure it's some-
Sleepology.
Yeah, it was our friends in Sleepology. They're another band from kind of all over Michigan. Super good, good dudes. But their singer actually directed the video you were talking about with the cake and the birthday party.
What's the
he's
name?
a-
What was the name of that one, by the
Downstairs.
way?
That song's called Midnight Run.
Midnight Run. I think I saw it on
Yeah.
your guys' link.
Yeah. No, we've got that one all over the place now. I'm sure you have. Yeah, but like, so our first show was there, and then shortly thereafter, Brendan kind of mentioned it earlier, but our second show ever was actually at the house venue that Brendan runs. So we kind of made sure we were on his radar pretty early on, and look how it
Was
was.
the second one with Max Saturn?
Yes.
I
yes,
can't
it
say.
was.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember
That's
for
right.
sure.
It was
I'm
either
happy I
them or
remember where these shows were, little who they were with. You guys are doing better
Max
than me.
Saturn and the Vulnerable were
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the other
that was
one.
the same show. Yeah, the Vulnerable
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, no, there were some cool bands from around here. Vulnerable kind of splintered off into a bunch of different bands, and then Max Saturn has been doing some pretty cool stuff around here too. So that it was kind of fun. It was just like a strange conflagration of things that don't really sound alike, but still made sense on a show. You know,
Nice.
That's typical Schwank show.
Yeah.
something for everybody. It's a
I
music
thought that would
buffet.
make
Sometimes.
sense though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They rocked.
Yeah, rocket and roll music. That's what
loud.
we're doing.
Nice. So actually, I want to go. So I want to go more about that music video of the one I just
Sure.
mentioned. What was that like, and how did you come about doing something like that? Because again, after one watching it, it like again gave that '90s, that early to mid '90s aesthetic.
So, and I'll let the other guys chime in because this is the first video we did with all four of us, and I feel like kind of steamrolling this interview so far. Like I do, I'm the singer. I talked about this earlier, but so the guy that directed, a guy named Ryan Mylock, we mentioned him earlier. He's in a band called Sleepology from around here. He's great. They're a good band. He directed our previous video for the song "Watching Bill and Ted Outside," the one where I'm getting blasted with squirt guns at my dad's garage. That's a sentence. That's a good sentence. But so Ryan came to us around the time we did that one with this idea that he'd had a while ago. It was just kind of a rough outline of a lot of the stuff you wound up seeing in the Midnight Run video, right? It was just like trying to do kind of like just a depressing kid's birthday party, has the band playing on like a tube TV nearby. We kind of couldn't get it to work right then. It kind of didn't fit like the vibe of the song we were doing or the vibe of the video we wanted to do. So when we wrote the song, well, the song Midnight Run had been written for a second, but when we finally were releasing it, we thought it was actually a pretty good fit because a lot of the lyrics to Midnight Run deal with like kind of what Sean alluded to earlier about both good and bad nostalgia, right? Where a lot of Midnight Run is me kind of coming to grips with the fact that like, yeah, I tend to rose tint the past a lot where, yeah, a lot of that stuff was cool, but you know, a lot of growing up is either kind of crappy or at the very least boring, right? So we kind of figured that Ryan's previous idea for the Scary Birthday Party video would kind of make a lot of sense with that song. So we got with him about it. Everybody kind of contributed ideas, right? Like we all brought props to it. I brought the giant Luigi. We had like party hats and this airy cake and the fog machines and stuff. So it's kind of a, Ryan had sort of the rough outline and it was like a big collaborative process to kind of make it look how it wound up looking.
Nice.
Yeah, Ryan's really good at letting us just like shoot a million ideas too, and does a lot of magic and editing.
Yeah, he'll somehow
Mhm.
incorporate it. Like
Oh,
the
shout
thing
out!
with the
Shout out to
CRT
Ryan.
yeah, the CRT TV was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was a very visually interesting video considering the fact it took us like 4 hours to film and then Ryan just pieced it all together on
Yeah,
like a
he did
MacBook
so
at his
much.
house.
Yeah.
Wow. Was there a?
He's
Well, I
very
mean,
patient with us too.
Right.
was there a? But I know some even like smaller music videos. Was there a budget for it? Or was it all just?
The budget was sort of like we had a small amount of money we gave to Ryan for his help, and then the budget was I think Ryan spent like a small amount of money on the cake, and then we all had to bring props from our houses.
Yeah, we had
It's-
like,
it-
we
it-
had like
it's even
leftover
worse.
food from a cookout.
Yeah, there was like the burger and the pizza I step on. I
It was
think
like a week old. We didn't.
if
waste
I remember
anything.
correctly, I think Ryan kept the cake and then ate the cake later because you know supermarket cakes don't go bad. They're not really food at that
No,
No.
they're just
boom.
Pretty
Same stuff
much.
they make beds out of. Yeah.
Yeah,
Foam
right.
to just
Yeah.
just sugar foam, basically.
Oh, sugar foam. I used to eat that cereal growing up.
We were able to like sneak so many inside jokes in that, even though like
Oh, yeah.
I watched the video and I think it's really good, and I'm like, holy shit, we are all dead and in hell at the end of it. Like,
Mhm.
I can't watch without thinking like this is clearly at the very least some kind of purgatory.
Yeah, it's an overused term, but we were trying to make the David Lynch of birthday party videos.
Yeah.
Dude, I had all these gags, they all ended up in there, but still.
I'm sure you
Blowing
guys
out
were
the
just like
candles.
tired afterwards.
It's true. I'm at the age right now where if I'm standing up for more than 3 hours, I'm gonna need a break at some point, right?
Oh,
So like,
jeez.
I had a great time making that video, but also there was about a week afterwards where I never wanted to hear that song again because we had to hear it like 30 times while we were filming. And that's
Oh,
on me.
yeah,
I'm
I
not the
love
kind
it.
that wants to hear my own voice singing anyway.
Who are
Talking,
the,
yes.
who are the
singing, no.
other who are the other people? Because it's all like some extras in that music, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, so a few of those are just some pals of ours from kind of around the area. Our friend Catherine's in it. She's been in some local bands, and she's been to like every show we've played for the last 3 years, not counting that year where nobody played shows,
Huh.
right? So she's cool. Then our friend Tyler and his girlfriend were in it. Tyler is the bass player in another local band called Lily Livers, who are super good. Tyler's a big sweetheart. Those were all like the first few people we wanted to hit up to be in that band. And I felt kind of bad because none of them lived very close to where we filmed it. So basically, they all had to drive like an hour and change to go hang out in this house and not actually eat the cake in front of them. Felt like some kind of like psychological experiment.
So Sean, I'll go with Sean and Jameson. What was it like doing that music video, Sean?
So I don't know how to like lip sync or do the equivalent of that. So I actually always demand that my bass is actually on. So that's probably everybody learns to deal with it, but I know that's gonna be frustrating for somebody. I had a lot of fun. I kept coming with ideas on the spot. So I mean, I don't mind playing through the same thing a million times. The guys have seen me do that a bunch of times anyway when I panic and try to learn the song really quick. But I was having fun because like Ryan was like letting me run with all my ideas. Like, so Brendan's not actually on the recording of that song. It was way before we even considered keyboards, but we wanted him in the video. And I was finding ways left and right to throw him in there, and we just went with it. And then his acting was hilarious. And like anybody that watches and looks back, like you'll see he's playing a Switch, not his keyboard. And there's all these other just gags like that, and it's hilarious. And
Best
then, like,
part is his keyboards are even his keyboard is there and he's not
Yeah.
playing it. He's just playing a Switch instead.
Set up, yeah. We're in the middle of a long set.
Nice.
since then though, he's added a keyboard part that song was good before, but it kind of really makes the song.
It's ominous.
I
way
hope
it's-
that
yeah.
we get like a good live recording up sometime,
Nice.
because boy, it is good.
Oh,
That's
would
when I
love-
learned about G and G sharp, G flat and G.
They're
It's
not
like-
popular notes. They're not popular notes.
Sounds
How
like a
old were
video
you when
game
you
boss
learned
music.
about G and G sharp?
It's now G sharp. Do you know where your children are?
Oh boy. James, same question. What was it like recording? What's okay? So one more time. What's the name of the music video?
Midnight Run is the name
Midnight
of this
Run.
one.
So what was it like for you doing Midnight Run?
So honestly, it's kind of similar to Sean, right? Because like you can't mime drums, so we had to have so that we were playing in time with the actual song, so everything matched up. We had to have it playing very loud on a speaker in Schwank where we recorded the music video. So I had to play like I'm playing, because like you can't mime it. So it's weird to practice to your own. It's almost like practicing to your own music, but you're not doing it in the normal, like I've got my headphones and I'm kind of at home on my practice pads or whatever. So it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's bizarre trying to match up your play 100% with your recording, full volume with your instrument. Phil, it's it's almost meta. It's you're getting into meta territory. I'm playing the thing that I'm playing while I'm hearing the thing that I already played, and I recorded it on these same instruments. It's weird. It was very weird, but it was very fun. And like Sean said, whenever we had an idea, Ryan was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like there's a point in the music video where they just stick a piece of the cake with the candle in front of my face so that while I'm playing, I'm kind of leaning over all of my stuff so I can blow out the candle. And like there's just something that I threw in there last minute. He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And it made it into the music video.
That was all the last take too. That was
Yeah.
all like we were done, but we're like, no, we gotta sing to the birthday cake.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yep.
And now Brandon, what was it like for you doing Midnight Run?
It was fun. I mean, part of me was just observing and watching the process. I mean, because I've been in bands for years and years, but I've never really been in a band that actually did multiple, like did the whole thing. You know, like we have songs and we recorded the songs and we have the songs released on EPs and albums, and there's T-shirts and merch and music videos. And I mean, so it was awesome. And I know Ryan has put out a lot of other great videos, and so I know that he puts out good stuff. And I was just tickled pink that it was, it was here and I was able to help facilitate. Because I'm also technically inclined. The audio side I'm pretty interested in, but I'm not really video inclined. So it was cool to be a part of that and have the least amount of responsibility, so I can just kind of screw off.
That's why we wanted to give him more camera time, right? We didn't want him to feel left out,
Now, I kind of briefly talked to you guys about this earlier. What was it like? Now was Dragon Con the very first convention you guys ever performed at?
It was, yeah. We'd been. It's something we wanted to do for a while, right? Like we always felt like we were kind of suited for that sort of thing. We specifically very much wanted to play Dragon Con, but we just sort of wanted to start getting to conventions in general, right? So when we were talking to Dragon Con earlier this year, and they said they wanted to have us do both a main stage and a concourse stage show, we were thrilled. We could not have been happier with the news, honestly.
Didn't want to pass that opportunity up.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. Like out of all the things we could have been doing over Labor Day weekend, this is probably the best thing that could have been offered.
Not to mention, Dragon Con's probably one of the biggest cons in the States, and it's also and you guys are allowed to cuss on here, by the way. It's a pretty big fucking party con.
That absolutely is. See, like in my arrogance, I'm getting there and I'm like, I've been going to comic conventions for years. I know exactly how this is gonna be, right? Because we have one up here in Detroit that I go to every year called YomaCon that's stretched between two different buildings.
Never
and I was like,
before.
yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of mostly like anime and gaming themed, right? It's awesome. I cosplay there a lot, but like, so in my head, I was like, no, this is perfect. There's going to be 2 hotels we walk between. Everything's going to be easy peasy. We get to Dragon Con, and that's my arrogance again talking. It's a running theme.
You kind of look at it. You're kind of looking like, oh crap.
Yeah,
A half
okay,
mile or so.
The vendors area is 4 floors in a completely different building, about a quarter mile away from the 2 other hotels that everything else is happening in.
I've heard stories and I've seen videos of Dragon Con. For anyone who's listening, don't go if you're going to Dragon Con for your first time. Do your research and don't go in like half cocked thinking, "Oh, this is just fine."
Yeah, have a plan, right? Like we got kind of lucky because our 2 shows that we played, because we had a main stage show and a concourse show. The 2 shows we were playing kind of dictated everything else we were going to be doing those days, so we kind of had an anchor to be like, all right, we have X amount of time for this before we have to like load in and play and everything. So like, if you're going to Dragon Con without like a set schedule at all, I don't know how well it's going to go for you. Also, stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated is a big one.
Or you make an itinerary and you look through the app and you see all these. Oh yeah, I want to see that. Oh yeah, I want to see that. And you like check all these things on the app and on your phone, and you have this idea of what you're gonna do, where you're gonna be. But then what ends up happening is totally different, but just as amazing. It's like, all right, I didn't see the Babylon 5 guy. Probably wasn't even close to seeing him, but we met George Lowe.
Right.
I'll
No,
go
exactly.
Space Ghost.
And Brendan was kind of our chief navigation officer for that, right? Because for some reason his phone was the only one that the app would like kind of cooperate on. So we were like, hey Brendan, do you know which of these 5 rooms we're supposed to be?
He was your quote. He was your quote unquote, as I put it, your convention exit buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. If this was Final Fantasy Crystal Bearers, he'd have the bucket, and we all had to stay really close to him.
If you ever watched a G-Force cartoon, I was the guy. I was Hootie, the one that stayed in the ship.
Nice. I guess this separately. Starting with Sean, what was it like going to Dragon Con for the band?
I mean, I thought it was great. I always just look at this stuff as vacations. So,
They
like,
might as well,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like,
Yep.
there was some serious work, but
Plus, you guys didn't have to pay for the tickets or anything.
nah, and we
Yeah.
had our friend Nick drive us, and he like kind of does that for a living, so he was able to help us streamline a lot of things. I was able to like even run through songs in the back of his van, just playing a bass the
He's
whole
your
way.
quote unquote bus driver.
Basically,
the fact
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. We did not
No,
have to drive a mile,
it
any
was
of
great.
us. So
it was a lot bigger than any convention, but
Yeah.
yeah, once it was cool to actually have a day off. When we played our shows, we had a whole day to like just witness stuff and do things, have a great time.
Basically, be like little kids at Disneyland for the first time.
Yeah, it's a good friendship business building
Yeah.
bonding experience, I guess.
Networking.
Sounds
trip.
Sounds about
It was
right.
business
Team
networking.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
like
we went drinking. There was another band,
Foot Pound Force.
Force. They invited us to meet them in a random part of the hotel. We found this empty convention, like this empty meeting room, and we just kind of hung out and drank. And
They brought all these crazy craft beers from Huntsville because they're from Alabama, so they're much
Alabama,
closer
yeah.
to Dragon Con than we are, right?
Oh yeah.
But like they're fantastic, actually. They're great dudes. They're similar lyrically to us, like they're also nerd rock, but you can tell they're from the South because they kind of got that sort of like clutch social distortion, almost like blues rock, kind of pseudo rockabilly thing sometimes, which is really interesting, right? So
They bounce
shout-
around a lot of genres, but
they do.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, shout out to them. They're
Definitely a
fantastic. But yeah,
shout
that
out
was
to them for sure.
so that was honestly kind of a big part of it too, is just seeing all the other bands we were friends with, you know.
Oh, so there are
Mhm.
more. So there sounds like there's a lot of bands then.
So we actually got to go see Cybertronic Spree while we were there. Last night we were
Okay.
there. We I guess the last thing we did at the convention was have some drinks and go see Cybertronic
Yeah.
Spree, which is great because we played with them. How many times now is it? Would this technically be our third?
It technically 3 would have been 4. Pandemic happened, but we've gotten 3. So
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Your
fantastic.
second time was my first time, and your third time was my second time.
It's true. It's true.
So
Yeah,
we've
Never,
seen them
never
4
forget your
times.
first time. James, what was it like performing at Dragon Con this year?
So this was the first I get barring like auto shows and like stuff like that, this is my first convention, period. So I wanted to try and, you know, take in as much of it as I could, not only while we were playing, but just like having the opportunities to explore and check out what was there. So I mean, it was a lot of fun. I don't I don't know how to encapsulate it, right? Like the 2 shows that we played, anyone that came to Sauce, it seemed like they were having a good time, which was great. I got to experience something entirely new to me. And of course, because it was my first time at a convention, I had to cosplay while I was there. So
You got to, especially your first con.
yeah, exactly. So I did my best Orange Cassidy, and I had some fun. We met Spawn. There was just the best Spawn I could ever imagine to see wandering around one of the hotels, and to what Tim was saying, the sheer size of everything while we were there. It's just the enormity of the convention, and yet every room we went in, apart from hanging out with Foot Pound Force in an empty convention room, was packed. There's just so much. It's almost overstimulating, you know. But it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. I hope we get to do it again.
I mean, that'd be nice. Do you guys plan on doing like more conventions or plan on going back to Dragon Con next year to do more of this?
We would like to. I don't know if Dragon Con is going to work out for scheduling wise because we kind of got some stuff around that time next year. But I don't want to jinx anything by naming names, right? But there's definitely some other places we're talking to, and this is definitely something we're going to be like super interested in doing. I think it's a good fit for us, and I think we all have a great time doing it.
Nice. And same question for you, Brendan. What was it like going to Dragon Con to perform there?
I mean, similar. I mean, it was my first, con, and I mean, in a huge city. Like I've been saying, it was a work hard, play hard weekend, but it
Oh, yeah.
was like the first night there was a little surreal because we're a little tired and we got to figure out our hotel situation, logistics, where we're playing, how we're getting stuff loaded in and out, where's the freight elevator, all that sort of stuff. And I remember the first night, you seeing all the costumes and just how the different scales of things, and like, okay, there's someone dressed up as like a pixelated 16-bit 2D character sprite, and then here's someone like James saying like here's straight up Spawn, and then there is a perfect to scale R2D2 and BB-8, and there's Leela, and there's some characters from Venture Brothers. It was a shock to the senses at first.
Nice.
But yeah, it was pretty amazing, pretty fun. I did not cosplay, but I definitely I acquired some items to which to build my costume possibly for next time.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Nice. So you guys mentioned also that you've worked with some other bands. What has that been like collabing with other bands? Anyone can answer first.
So we don't tend to collab a lot musically, but like a lot of the people we work with and are friends with tend to be in other bands, right? Like Brendan, for example. Brendan did some early recordings for us. He's in another band right now. He's been in a number of bands in the area. A guy that does a lot of our recordings is a gentleman named Tom Skill. He produced like our first full length. He did some of our recent EPs and everything. He's been in a lot of local bands, including the aforementioned Lily Livers. So apparently our trick is to just like pull people from them to make them hang out with us. And then from there, we've just been kind of lucky that we found like a lot of bands that are kind of similar vibe or similar sound to us that we can kind of like befriend and like play shows with or hang out whenever the situation is allows us to, right?
Yeah, and like another good example, like the first big tour, I guess not big, but the first like extended time on the road that we did was with some friends in another band called Labor Day Weekend, and that was only because we had played a number of shows with them in the area, and just on a personal level I've gotten along really well with them, that like we were able to coordinate a trip up like the East Coast and do a bunch of shows that way, and to like Tim saying, just friends that we've made along the way, we're able to make more things happen with.
Yeah, that was a great experience in
Oh, yeah.
general, just because they had a lot of experience at that kind of touring. So it really, even though they were like 10 years younger than us, I learned a lot
Yeah.
from that.
Absolutely.
It's easier at that age almost, right? Like we missed that boat when we were 23, so now we have to ask the 23-year-olds in the band how you do it.
Since James already answered, Brendan, what has it been like as well?
What
Collabing with
was
other
the
people?
question?
What's it been like collabing with other people?
I mean, great. I mean, I am, yeah, collaboration is key. I mean, my whole experience playing music and being involved with music has been a collaborative affair. I mean, how I learned to play guitar, I mean, I was still in high school, and my buddy, this guy I met, he's like, "Hey, you like the White Stripes, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, let's go see them in concert. So we would go see the White Stripes. He's like, "You should join my band." I'm like, "I don't know how to play guitar." He's like, it's easy. And then join his band. It's like, "All right, play a solo." It's like, "I don't know." Yeah, it's easy. He's just, I've kind of just, I kind of got into music and being involved with people that are like, "Yeah, you can do it." So yeah, it's been great. And and joining this band has exposed me just to an entirely different realm of music and style. And yeah, it's been fun because I've been in a lot of like kind of grungy instrumental kind of post rock, like this song's get like 7.5 minutes, but we got something to say, but there's no lyrics sort of thing. So it's been fun to join a band like this where all those songs are typically 2 to 3 minutes and play a little ditty part. And and we can talk about toys and movies, and I can learn about wrestling and they can learn about, I don't know, Blade Runner.
Blade
or
Runner
something.
comic books.
Yeah, that's been a big one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, 2 more questions before we end this. I'll start with Brandon, then work my way down. So out of all the Brandon, out of all the songs you guys have done, what's been your favorite that you've done so far with the band?
I mean, I started playing Capcom Girl and Bill and Ted, and those are loads of fun to play. But I guess out of the newer, since McClunky came out, I really like Midnight Run. And yeah, I'd say, and I think it's going to be ever changing because I'm planning to, well, we're going to be recording, and not to give too much away, but we're going to be recording a song here soon. And so yeah, that's pretty fun to play too, the new song.
Nice. James, same question. What's been your favorite song so far to play?
So it's kind of, I'm kind of torn on that for a couple of reasons, but I've got a few in mind. So one of the first songs that Tim showed me was a song called Idiot's Loop that when Tim wrote the guitar for it, he kind of had a certain pacing in mind, and without knowing what that I was doing anything different, I wrote drums for it that subverted his expectations, and it became one that kind of stuck out because initially it seemed like it was going to be kind of, typical punk tempo kind of a feel, and the drums that I thought made sense for it were real sludgy, so it stood out among the other stuff that we had at the time. So it was a lot slower than the other stuff in comparison. It's going to be either that or off of the last song off the last full song off of our full length is Spooky Weekend, and I like playing that one because I feel like, as far as writing amongst everyone, I feel like that song comes together really well in that everyone has the opportunity to showcase what they're doing, but it's not so much about one piece or the other, but structure and writing. It all falls together really well. Like
Very cohesive, good arrangements.
Yeah, exactly. It's pieced together in a very, very cohesive manner, and I feel like it's one of the stronger ones that way out of a lot of what we do. But the last EP that we released has been a lot of fun too, just because it's been a lot more experimental. But those 2 songs in particular stick out to me as some of my favorites,
Nice.
at least structurally.
All right. Same question for Sean, and then same question for Tim, starting with
Ooh.
Sean.
Oh man, I'm just gonna say the same stuff.
That's perfectly fine.
Well, I honestly, yeah, I love Capcom Girl a lot. It's just a straightforward thing. I was happy. Not only did we add the keyboard to the stuff,
Yeah.
who knew what things were to do, where we'd go with that. But I liked that Tim just wrote 2 really cute love songs, and I think it's great. Like it's cool to just have a love song. Like, why not? But also, we didn't mention this with the collaborative thing. We had Mike Falumley from the Smokin' Popes and my favorite Alkaline Trio album and stuff. He mixed and mastered them for us, and he did a great job. It was great to work with somebody that I just hold the utmost respect for. No offense to other people who I work with on the daily that I also respect a lot. So Capcom Girl's up there. But also on our first EP and our first full length, we have the song "Thank You." It smells like shit. I think that might have been the first song that I learned of the band.
That sounds right.
It sounds right.
It was one of the first 3 songs I wrote for Bathroom, and I'm pretty sure it's the first one I showed you. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what influenced that decision.
whenever we practice, if we do that song, like if I'm having a rough day, I just go, let's do this song. And it kind of like sets me like where I should be mentally. The name itself is like 3 inside jokes. I get a lot of vocal time on it. It's just kind of a fun song for me in general. I even found a notebook from pre-bathroom times we talked about it that just said super hot proto man on it while I was cleaning like a couple weeks ago. And that's a reference to thank you, it smells like shit.
Nice.
Unless I get to say curse words.
I mean, nothing wrong with that. Same question for you, Tim. What's been your favorite?
All right, so my criteria for how much I like a song, and I so rarely get there, is if the music came out the way I want, and if the lyrics came out the way I want. Like if I had like an abstract idea of a song in my head, and then if it actually comes together when I put pen to paper. Because I'm not one for rewriting stuff usually. It's probably just due to laziness, but I'm like a first thought, best thought guy, right? So wherever the song comes out, that's it. It's in the world's hands now. But with that in mind, my absolute favorite thing we've ever had is watching Bill and Ted Outside. Like, no matter what happens to this band, no matter where we go, that will be the best song I ever write, and I'm going to believe this the entire time I'm in this band.
Nice.
Now, I'm going to kind of cheat, and I'm going to give a 2 and an honorable mention. My second choice, honest to gosh, I'm going to have to say Midnight Run. I had the guitar part for Midnight Run written forever ago. I don't know if maybe I just kind of never finished it, or if the kind of the time wasn't right. But kind of going back to when Sean was talking about like me teaching him how to play bass in the first 3 Bathroom to Future songs, he and I kind of worked on together. I had the guitar part for Midnight Run, 6-7 years ago at this point. But I never really had lyrics for him that I liked, and I wasn't really sure how to express myself in the right way. So the time finally came, it's like, listen, I got to use this for something. This is driving me nuts. I feel like that one turned out kind of the way I would have wanted it to, in a similar way for Bill and Ted. But I'm going to give an honorable mention to the song "Maze of Noise." It's off
That's
our
a fun
first
one.
full length. Yeah, thank you. Brandon especially has done a great job writing keyboard parts for that after the fact. Like I've always liked the song. I like it more now, I would say. But Maze of Noise was the first time where like I had the idea in my head. I sort of had the guitar part. I knew what I kind of wanted the lyrics to be about. And it is about the recent Transformers comics, for what it's worth. There was a Transformers comic series from 2014 that Maze of Noise is about. I'll explain it in depth one day if anybody comes up to ask me. But
Nice.
it was the first time that I ever wrote a song where I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not really embarrassed by any of these lyrics. And the guitar part turned out exactly like I would have liked. And this is awesome, right? So I wanted to mention Maze of Noise because it was the first time I ever kind of felt that way with a song I wrote. Because I tend to write stuff and just nitpick it to death, right? But otherwise, absolutely Bill and Ted and Midnight Run. Like, full stop.
Nice. Okay, so last but not least, and you guys can collab all of this you want. For those who are just wanting to start their own band, whether it's punk rock, jazz, whatever genre, what advice would you want to give? Anyone, I guess anyone can answer.
So I would like to I'd like to say that like if you're looking for something specific in a band, maybe don't hold it as gospel, because like I don't know prior to joining Bathroom of the Future that I would have thought I was going to be in a nerd rock band, and it's some of the most fun I've had playing music, hands down. So like if I want to be in this kind of band and we got to do this and this and this, like kind of throw that out the window. Like if you've got some musicians in mind, that I would say focus more on that. Like if you want to play with these people, maybe go in that direction if you need to have a focal point. But yeah, don't hold yourself to a genre or a time period. Just if you've got people that you think you want to work with them and see what comes out.
Basically, do what feels right to you.
Yeah, exactly. Don't try to define it before you've even started playing.
I mean, I'm sure that's what you guys did. You were trying to find it first before you like put a stamp on it.
Yeah, actually, James kind of stole what my advice was going to be, but I couldn't agree with that more, right? Like, I didn't wake up one morning and think, yeah, that's right, I'm going to get that Dragon Con money by writing songs about Street Fighter. Right, but it was more just the fact that, like, a lot of the artists I'd been influenced by in my life tended to, like, make very specific references to their lives in their lyrics, right? Like, Piebald did it, Ozma did it, Weezer, like in the garage, right?
Oh,
Like, even
yeah,
if I
man.
didn't know what Dungeons and Dragons was, that song would still be kind of what I wanted to do. But it's piggybacking what James said, I think it is very important just sort of let it, whenever you start writing songs, like obviously, have a genre in mind. I don't think you should necessarily sit down and force yourself to write 12 different songs across 12 completely unrelated styles of music, unless you're doing that for some kind of like charity challenge. But like when you sit down to write a song, just have sort of like a genre in mind, think about some bands you like, but don't try to ape that too hard. And then just let it come out naturally, right? Like however your first song comes out, it's probably not going to be exactly what you thought, but you know what? That's more songs than you had a second ago. And the fact that you wrote a song in and of itself is pretty good, because those are hard. I'm not good at it. Writing songs is the hard part. I could send emails all day. It's like actually writing the songs and getting people to hear them. That's the trick.
I think a general idea of the genre is good. I think that all of our stuff, like nerd rock, especially with the keyboard, kind of lends it more. But I think that basically we're always like the branch we like of pop punk or emo or whatever. We bounce between all the terms. It's just tough because emo can be jawbreaker to one person or like Asking Alexandria or something to the other. But I think it's like good for a blanket thing. If I was gonna start another band now, I'd probably have to go way different. But it's like if I was in a hard rock band, it would be like metal, doom, sludge, classic, whatever. That to me, that's all the same. But I don't want to do that like, you know, waltz into a thrash, into like a jazz stuff as cool as Mike Patton could be. But yeah, don't come at me trying to get me to join a Mike Patton band. I can already listen to that on my own terms. But I think with a band, another thing too is treat it like a relationship of any sort and see what people are into.
Yeah.
If somebody just wants to get together and jam, that's perfectly fine. And there's
Mhm.
situations for that. If you want to do an EP and play a couple shows, also cool. If you want to do full blown tour all year, that's cool. If you want a series of weekenders, that's cool. You really got to talk it out with everybody and then see if everyone's fit for that. And then, whatever. If somebody only wants to do an EP and their other band wants to tour, they could maybe do both, but don't get mad when they do both. I don't know, like I think we found a happy medium for what adults can do and still be very active while holding down jobs and lives.
And we're not as young as we used to be.
And we're
Oh,
not
no.
getting younger.
Oh god,
Nope.
no. I'm pushing 30, so
You're gonna have a great time. Everyone in this band is in our 30s, and at least speaking for myself, honest to God, 30 to 35 was way cooler than 25 to 30 was. You're gonna have a great time. I
I
promise.
picked
Hands
up
down.
bass at 30.
Same question for you, Brendan. Any last minute advice before we end this interview?
Just be open and yeah, don't have too many expectations and earlier with the collaboration thing, yeah, or Sean was saying, just jam with some people, see what happens. Go to shows and
Oh yeah.
and find bands that you like and get to know the members, buy their merch, talk to them, and yeah, like around here, there's a fair number of bands, but you'll find it's like, okay, there's like the same drummer and the three of them, and there's the same bass player, and you can be in more than one band.
That's some pretty sound advice. Again, I know I had to kind of end this here abruptly, but again, I want to thank you guys for coming on to want to talk about your band, and hopefully those who watch this will check you out, and hopefully you guys can get some more shows and more, book some more comic books, more conventions to play at, because I would like to see you guys in person now.
Yeah, we're all right. People tell us we're all right. But no, thank you so much for having us. Like I said, I'm sorry again for how long it kind of took this all to line up.
Oh,
We
no, I
super
mean-
appreciate you hitting us up. It's been
Of
I
course,
think I
no.
can speak for all of us when I say it's been a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah, no.
Mhm.
I've come to realize that, when it comes to, since you guys are showing some nerd stuff, I might as
Yeah,
well.
please, everybody.
Planet Express.
There we
Oh,
go.
Futurama.
Heck yeah.
I got
Oh,
Yeah,
Jim
good
nice!
Wheeler.
news,
My
everyone.
fiance has that at her desk.
Hey.
It's from a nerd theme shop here in Medford. If you guys are ever in the Pacific Northwest area, I recommend checking out the Retro Wormhole. They had a R2D2 themed bass guitar.
Hey, now we're
Oh,
talking.
yeah.
Now we're
I'll send you the link and everything. But again, you guys, Bathroom of the Future. And also thanks James for introducing his cast to us as
Oh
a
yes,
special
yes,
guest.
yes. They're both great. They're both great.
Well, again, thank you guys again for coming on, and be sure to check them out on Instagram. What are your guys' links real quick so I can make sure people check them out?
So we're on pretty much every one of the big streaming platforms, right? Spotify, the usuals. We're on YouTube. That's where the aforementioned music video is. If it's
Bandcamp.
easier for anybody, you can just go to bathroomofthefuture.com and find everything there. But if you do just Google us, make sure to type Bathroom of the Future Band, because if you don't put band on there, you're going to get a lot of really helpful interior design articles about your own bathroom.
What is this?
Not that I'm against that, but that's not helping.
Laser
out.
sighted bidets.
Oh, I need that. I
Oh,
need that
geez,
right
Bathroom-
now.
Finally.
I think when you look
does.
at I think when you look at Bathroom of the Future, you'll see a self-talking toilet.
Yeah, it keeps you company at night. Yeah.
Wait, you forgot to flush.
Yeah, a lot of people do need that, right? If one of them could yell at you to wash your hands when you're leaving a public
Wash your
one, then I
damn
think the world
hands
would be a
before you
better
leave the
place.
bathroom. Well, again, you guys, thank you for coming on. As always, I'm Win the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for watching.